5,000 years ago, in southern Mesopotamia, two cities prepared for war, not for glory, not for conquest, but for a line in the dirt. This was not the beginning of violence. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous. On this channel we tell the stories behind history's turning points, not myths of heroes but systems, decisions made under pressure, moments that quietly reshaped the future. This is one of those moments. This isn't just about the war of Lagash and Umma, it's about why war stopped being a temporary act and became a permanent institution. Why violence, once personal and chaotic, was transformed into something organized, recorded, and repeatable. Southern Mesopotamia, around 2500 BCE, was a fragile place to live. The land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers was rich, but only if managed carefully. Water meant survival. Canals had to be dug, maintained, defended. Cities like Lagash and Umma were not nations, they were tightly controlled systems. Temples organized labor. Priests tracked harvests. Kings enforced boundaries. And boundaries mattered. Between Lagash and Umma lay a stretch of fertile farmland called the Gudena. It was irrigated, measured, taxed. Long before the war began, a treaty existed. A stone marker defined who owned what. The gods themselves were invoked as witnesses. But systems under stress rarely fail loudly. They erode quietly. Umma needed more land, more water, more grain, and Lagash stood in the way. For generations, disputes flared and faded. Raids, retaliations, temporary settlements. Then something changed. Lagash stopped reacting and started planning. Under its ruler Renatum, the conflict was no longer treated as a border quarrel. It was reframed as a structural threat. If Umma could erase one boundary, every boundary became negotiable. This was not a call to revenge. It was a calculation. Mobilizing an army in 2500 BCE was not simple. Farmers had to leave fields. Supplies had to be moved without roads. Discipline had to be enforced without precedent. There was no standing army tradition, no doctrine, no manual, and there was restraint. Lagash did not rush forward in chaos, it advanced deliberately. In formation, shield walls locked together. This was not a brawl. It was controlled violence. The risk was enormous. Failure would mean famine. Success would define authority. Lagash won, not because of superior courage, but because of organization. The victory was recorded on stone, the stele of the vultures. It did not glorify individuals. It documented process, troop formations, divine justification, territorial enforcement. The land was reclaimed, the boundary restored, and Umma was forced to acknowledge it again. But this time, the message was permanent. This war mattered because it was remembered. For the first time, conflict was archived as policy. Victory became precedent. Territory became law. Future rulers would study this not as a story, but as a model. War was no longer an interruption of order. It became a tool of order. From this moment on, states would plan for war in advance, budget for it, justify it, record it. The line in the dirt was never just a line. The war of Lagash and Umma was small by later standards. But history does not turn on scale. It turns on structure. This was the moment war became systematic. If you want to explore more stories where quiet decisions reshape the world, like the video, subscribe, and tell me which moment in history we should examine next.